Okay, we're going to call to order the Torrington Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting Wednesday, June 17th at 6:08 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Capabianca, I received a call, she's going to be late. Mr. Hinman? Here. Mrs. Hona, Mr. Kisco?
Here.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Lemoyne?
Here.
Mr. Nargi?
Present.
Ms. Richardson? Here. Mr. Tebow?
Here.
Mr. Traub?
Here.
Mayor Carbone is not here. Ms. Air? Here. Mr. Becerra?
Here.
Mr. Campolita?
Here.
Ms. Placco? Here. Ms. Lebowski?
Here.
Mr. Potter?
Here. Thank you. All right, we're going to move into the school community session. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make a comment are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, which is already up here, including your name and address. You must also state your name and address at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 10 minutes overall. Our first one is Jason Lafferty.
Good evening, Jason Lafreniere, teacher at Torrington Middle School and reside in Simsbury, Connecticut. First, I'd like to let the board know that this past year's Washington, D.C. trip went very well and that TPS was very well represented by the group that traveled. The feedback from the live streaming of the wreath laying ceremony that took place was very positive, both inside and outside the building, and hopefully some of you got to watch it. My comments tonight are meant purely as informative, and the criticism is meant to be constructive, but they're based in frustration. I'm frustrated with the field trip approval process, and I'm disappointed in the board's refusal to approve the field trips that were correctly proposed for the 15-16 school year, which includes the 8th grade 2016 Washington, D.C. trip at your last meeting. My field trip proposal and application paperwork were filled out correctly and submitted to the building principal on September 25th, 2014. I received my application and personal paperwork back signed and approved by both the assistant superintendent and the superintendent on or about September 30th, 2014. I anticipated the Board of Ed to approve the field trip shortly thereafter, and when it never showed up on a Board of Ed agenda, I made several requests since that time to have the trip approved by the Board of Ed at each of the subsequent meetings. In March, I was finally told to go ahead, hold a parent informational meeting and allow students to register register for next year's trip, and they are in the process of currently paying for that trip. I currently have about 120 students already registered. But as far as I know, according to the online minutes from last month's meeting, the trip was not approved. In 2013, the board approved a new field trip policy. It was my understanding that the new policy lifted the need for out-of-state or overnight field trips to be submitted to the board a full year ahead of time, and lifted the limitation of the Board of Ed considering these field trips once a year in the spring. The current policy only states in regards to approval that the superintendent of schools or a designee shall approve all field trips and develop forms and processes for submitting these requests to the board. There's no statement about a time frame for submission or that the Board of Ed will only approve these trips once a year. Procedures for submitting this paperwork are not found anywhere. The way the Board of Ed is currently going about field trip proposals, I feel, seems to be in accordance with the old policy, and procedures are not in accordance with the policy or clearly defined and known to all staff. This has caused educational opportunities outside the classroom to be missed. The proposal for an alternate trip to New York City for 8th graders not going to DC this year was denied by the superintendent because of when it was proposed. The individual who normally runs that trip had extenuating personal circumstances that caused the trip to not be proposed till about 2 or 3 months before the trip. The coordinator was not notified that the trip wasn't approved till only a few weeks before the trip was slated to take place. This was such a disappointment to those who had already put many hours into the planning and to many students who were planning to go. When I noticed that field trips were a topic on a recent policy committee meeting, I informed the chairperson of the policy committee of changes to the application and proposal paperwork that I submitted to the administration and provided her with a copy. I wasn't at the meeting, but it's my understanding that it was communicated that I had made changes to the school field trip permission form, which is not the case, although I would be willing to help make changes to that document to make it more useful to those who use it. An out-of-state and overnight field trip generally has a longer planning and registration period than in-state or one-day trips. Being able to effectively plan these trips and give all students a fair chance of participation is dependent upon timely approval and effective communication by all parties. I started planning the 16 trip in September of 2014. Students ultimately could have been registering for the trip since February of 2015 at a significant cost savings. This would have also allowed parents well over a year to plan and pay for this trip. I'm sure the DC trip is not the only trip that has these type of circumstances, and I'm asking and hoping that tonight's agenda can be amended to include all properly proposed 15-16 full field trips to be approved based on the current policy. If that's not possible, please solve the problem that has been plaguing this field trip proposal process for at least the last 5 years and reach out to those who are most familiar with what it takes to carry out such a field trip. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Battle.
Good evening, William Battle, 69 Red Mountain Avenue, Torrington, Perrin. Here we are again at the end of another school year, and here I am again speaking to you. Will be my son's last 2 years at Torrington, so after that you'll be free of me and my one-note samba. But I would like to reiterate something that I did bring to your attention several months ago about the nature of politics and what the politics are going to be this year in particular, because we have presidents running. And one of the big issues in the presidential elections this year are going to be the Common Core. Several of the members already deciding to run, opposed to it, and really don't want it to be part of the national agenda. They're viewing it as a federal overstep of the state and municipal governments, which is not our issues. But it is one of the things that I'd like to bring to your attention. The new lady who's going to be running came from Hewlett-Packard on Sunday's news programs, said she's diametrically opposed to it for many, many reasons. I hope that you would look forward to see if you can find that, look it up on the internet. Whether you like him or not, Donald Trump made his announcement yesterday, and he also very vociferously said he's against the Common Core for a lot of reasons, some of which that I agree with, but that's not anybody's fault. What I am asking you to do as a board is to make yourself do some due diligence. Finally, take a good look at what the Common Core is really about. Do not accept anything from anybody, any administrator or anything. Look at what it's about. And be ready for whatever happens in Torrington when candidates come to make their pitches. The worst case scenario for me would be something would go on like happened to my friend who was superintendent of Commissioner of Education, and he got caught up in the middle of several things that happened, and I feel sorry for him. I would not like any board member not to know 100% the history and the realities behind the Common Core, not just the talking points that we've gotten over the years. I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody. During the time that I've been here, when Superintendent Leone was superintendent, I made sure that he had copies of all the information. I carried that on to our current superintendent and the assistant superintendent, other members of the board. All I'm asking you to do is do some due diligence, take a look at it. Take a direct look at it, not what it says, but what it is, and what alternative people have said, like the Yale School of Child Development and other people who are very, very, very important to education. I'd like you to do that. Don't take my word. I have a one-note samba and that's it. But take a look at it yourself. I think you'd be very interested.
Thank you. Chase Jesperson.
My name is Chase Jesperson. I live at 1741 Torringford Street in Torrington, Connecticut. And I'm here to talk about the grounds maintenance bids for the outsourcing. We are currently the lowest bid in the process. We are a local company that takes a lot of pride in our community and likes to give back to schools, non-for-profit organizations. I personally attended Torrington schools 2nd through 8th grade. before I was accepted into the Wamogo Agriculture Program. Really hoping that you will consider our bid and take a close look at it. We feel as we do meet all the requirements. If you have any questions or concerns tonight when you are discussing it, feel free to ask. I plan on staying for the meeting, and I also brought a copy of our bid with us. And we are registered with the state of Connecticut, and if we are awarded the contract, we are prepared to start on July 1st. Thank you.
Approval of the agenda. And discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know if we can add to the agenda the field trip.
And they're on
It is, I'm kind of looking at it, it's second page.
there. Second page, under action items, it is action item D.
D?
D is
It's on
dog.
the amended agenda.
Huh.
And then again,
Okay, sorry.
in fact, it's the only amendment.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, informational sharing session. Fire truck ride.
Zachary, would you like to come forward, please? Zachary is our helper this evening. Okay, Zachary, you want to pick somebody's name out, mix it all up, and pick up? How much you have? Got one? Okay, let's bring it over to Mr. Trop.
Thank you. You did a great job. Okay, for this year's kindergarten first day of school fire truck ride, Noah Brown goes to Torringford. I was our recipient. I don't know who's that. Students report, we do not have a student present,
Okay.
so we move into the superintendent's report.
All right, and I'm going to have Mr. Bain start, please.
Good
There's so
evening,
much that's been happening, so,
What's that?
there's been so much that's been happening.
Oh, yes.
High school.
Exactly. Well, the first thing on the agenda for us is the academic awards and the scholarship night. The academic awards happened on May 19th, and if those of you who were in attendance realize we had a great turnout and a great number of students who won a numerous amount of awards. Everything from content area awards to college awards. It was an extraordinary night. Same goes for the scholarship night, which was on May 28th. This year in 2015, we gave out $71,075 as opposed to last year, which was $61,700. So we had, just a short story, we had a company come in at the last hour and wanted to donate $5,000 in scholarship money to students, and it was literally like 3 days before we had it. They were a new small business in town, and they wanted to give back to the school. So the last two awards for the evening were split up between 6 students for that money. So that was great, and they want to continue doing that. So it was a good jump, over almost $10,000, almost $11,000 in scholarship money given out this year.
You can sit there for a few
Okay.
minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Tonight, I'm informing the Board of Education of my decision to retire from public education. I would like to thank the Torrington students, their families, the staff, faculty, and administration of Torrington Public Schools, and the community at large for providing me with the opportunity to serve as superintendent and for trusting me to provide the future generation of Torrington with the knowledge, skills, and strategies that they will need to compete in the 21st century. During my tenure, there have been many changes to the requirements of public education offered in Torrington. Some government mandated and often unfunded, and some the initiative of the Board of Education. Challenging changes with which Torrington Public Schools has met with no cost or low cost whenever possible. My complete announcement, which will be sent to you tomorrow, contains a list of these changes and how the goals that accompanied them were met or are in the process of being met. I would like to thank Ken Traub, who has served as chairman of the Board of Education during my tenure, for his availability to the superintendent, even when he was hundreds of miles away and deep into his own company's work. It has been easy to maintain open communication, and generally we speak on a daily basis. Suggestions, ideas, support, and guidance from the chairman have always been welcome and helpful. We can agree to disagree, but disagreements have never been never interfered with the primary mission of the district, educating the children. I have learned a lot from Mr. Traub about running a company from the business end of it, and I believe he has learned a lot about running a school district in the best interest of the students. On day one, we promised that we would work together and never disagree in front of the children or community, because we realized nothing would be gained from that type of behavior and would only interfere with the running of the district. Egos and personal agendas were pushed aside for the common good. The focus question always remained the same. Will students benefit from the action in the end, and will they be any better off? I would like to thank the Republican American and the local broadcast media personnel who asked the right questions and provided me time to explain my answers, and weren't just looking for a 15-second soundbite for the morning news. They often called and shared what they were going to print or say for clarification purposes, making sure the story was told factually, something seldom done in this instant gratification media world we now live in. They truly understand the challenges that face Torrington, an urban center in the middle of a northwest rural area of Connecticut and the largest metropolitan center in the United States. Lastly, I would like to thank the faculty, staff, and administration of all our Torrington Public Schools for the good work that they do on a daily basis to create a learning environment so all students may achieve academic success. The superintendent may be the educational leader for the district, but is what is implemented in the schools that is most important. During the past 3 years especially, there have been many changes, and you all have to be congratulated for taking the risks that came with these changes. Your bravery should be applauded as you plunged into the pool of education reform and have risen to the surface. I never aspired to be a superintendent, but when presented with the opportunity to give back to the community where I lived as a child and young adult, I grabbed the chance. Torrington provided me with an education that allowed me to attend a quality college and have a career that has spanned over 4 decades. If I could live it all over again, I would. I just hope that I have somehow made a positive difference in the lives of the children in Torrington, so they can have the same opportunity to work in an area in which they are passionate, and that the work they do is not just a job, but a stepping stone in a long career pathway. Thank you.
Ready to rally, sir? Yes, I'm ready to rally. Thank you very much. The Raider Rally happened on May 29th. For those of you who are not aware, the Raider Rally was started 2 years ago by several students and Miss Erin Sullivan, who is a student council advisor at Torrington High School. 2 years ago, students came to her with an idea to boost morale in students giving back to the community. In that case, they raised funds for such organizations as FISH and Susan B. Anthony Project. The goal was to have this event run every other year because it does take a lot of time to plan out and get everything in place. And this was the second attempt that we had with this, and it was a wonderful event. Kudos again to Ms. Sullivan and to Margaret Pelchat, a math teacher at the high school, who organized along with the students and led the efforts of the students and the staff at Torrington High School. Up to date, we have raised, well, the student council has raised $17,024 on that Friday for the local charities. Not only were students and staff involved, but alumni came back to the school and participated in helping out in different events that were going on throughout the day. One of the biggest things was during the day, we had some challenges between the classes, and it was really neat to see some of the teachers take advantage of that. Ms. Pelchat in the push-up competition along with students from each grade level, and she was showing them up pretty good, which was exciting for the teachers and the staff. So $17,000. So the goal is obviously in 2 years to do this again and to increase our funds even more. And we're very proud of the work that we've done in bringing the community together and boosting the morale of Torrington High School. And on a side note, if it's okay, if I may, I have some information that I've received in regards to the surveys for seniors. Can I present that at this time? This information we just received, we handed out caps and gowns. As you're aware, graduation will be this Sunday, Father's Day at 6 p.m. at the Warner. And the seniors did their surveys before they got their caps and gowns. 235 seniors filled out the surveys. 168 of those seniors are going to be going to college. 45 are going to a 4-year in-state public school. 13 are going to a 4-year out-of-state public school. 10 are going to a 4-year in-state private school. 40 are going to a 4-year out-of-state private school. 54 are going to a 2-year in-state public school. 1 is going to a 2-year out-of-state public school. 4 are going to a 2-year in-state private school, and 1 is going to 2-year out-of-state private school. 17 students are currently enrolled to go into the military, 3 to the Air Force, 4 to the Army, 1 to the Coast Guard, 4 to the Marines, 5 to the Navy. 50 have decided to go to the workforce right away. AP exams, we gave 133 advanced placement exams this year. As last year, we had 88, so we had an increase of approximately 50 tests given. Again, scholarship night was $71,000. And we had 119, students were accepted to 119 different colleges and universities this year, which was 48 new colleges and universities as opposed to last year in 2014.
Will the board get a list of what colleges students are?
I can arrange to get that, yep,
Okay, great.
absolutely. And we do have one student who was not accepted right away to the Air Force Academy, but she's decided to go to the prep school. She was enrolled in the prep school in Virginia, where she will be accepted after 1 year post-grad to go into the Air Force Academy, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations on your retirement.
Student Innovation Expo.
Hi, my name is Lisa Devaney. I'm the science teacher here at Torrington High School. I'm also the science club advisor. I have 3 of the students that have participated in the Student Innovation Expo. It was held on June 6th at the Excel Center. It's about 1,200 students that participate in various programs there, and ours was the Independent Science Challenge, and I'll let them tell you a little bit about it. We've also set up a part of our display and have our website, so you can take a look at that later. This is Catherine Bissone, Rachel Inman, and Jack Wassey.
So this year, we tried to focus on the issue of antibiotic resistance. Simply spoken, it's when bacteria that can make people very, very sick become strong enough and powerful enough that it can't, like normal medicine doesn't actually work against them. The issue that is at hand now is that so much antibiotics are in our food source that those antibiotics are transmitted into us, and so the bacteria in our bodies are becoming resistant, and then that spreads even more and more of that antibiotic resistance around to everyone else.
And this antibiotic resistance, we already know that it happens if we don't complete our medications properly. There's a chance. So there's some awareness in the public, but there is also the risk of transmission through animals. If animals are excessively fed antibiotics, it is possible the bacteria in the animals can grow resistant. And also the antibiotics can be transmitted through the food we eat, primarily in poultry and meat. And therefore, if we ingest them, we may also grow resistant. And there was a startling statistic we found throughout our research that said 80% of antibiotics are fed in the US are fed to animals, and many of these animals are not sick and they're just fed preventatively, but for the same reason that we do not binge on antibiotics, these animals should not as well. And so we wanted to bring awareness to antibiotics in food.
The problem with antibiotics is so big that companies have started using false labels. They can put things like grass-fed or antibiotic-free, but they don't have to actually be antibiotic-free or grass-fed throughout their whole entire life. We saw this as a major problem because it's misinforming the public. So we created a product that would allow just the regular everyday consumers to test their food safely for antibiotics if there's anything present. We created an iron sulfate solution and a beta-lactamase iodine solution. The iron sulfate solution would turn the meat to a dark, rusty brown if there was any tetracyclines present, which is a type of antibiotic and is one of the most commonly used antibiotics on cattle or just livestock in general. The beta-lactamase iodine solution turns the meat a dark blue if there's any penicillins present, which is another antibiotic that's very common in meat. And the goal of this project was that it would inform consumers of what meat has antibiotics in them and help them overcome the dangers of false labeling and the dangers of using antibiotics in meat, and just to put pressures on the companies to change their habits.
When designing our product, we thought about the consumer a lot. Our main goal, as Catherine said before, was not really profit. It was more public awareness. We wanted to teach people more about what they're actually eating. This whole product, which can be used up to 50 different times you buy meat, some type of meat, and it would be less than between $15 to $20 for the consumer. And we kind of estimated that between every 6 to 9 months they have to buy a new one. So we thought it was very cost effective for the actual consumer. So.
Is that the kit?
Yeah.
It was made by the 3D printer here at the school, so pretty cool.
So these are the 2 bottles that they would be using. They only have to do 2 to 4 drops of it to create a change. And you only need a small sample of the meat, so it's not like you're wasting any meat if you buy this $10 steak or something like that, and you don't want to waste anything. So it's a little small tray, and that's provided. And you just put a small sample of the meat, then you kind of you put the 2 to 4 drops in, and then you just stir it with one of the toothpicks that we provide. And yeah, and there's a change. If there's a change of color, then the antibiotic is present, and that just kind of reassures the consumer.
And your success at the competition?
We won 2nd place in the competition.
1,200.
Any other questions from the young group? No? Pass, you're free. Thank you very much.
And thank you. And thank you. Yeah. I have to follow you. Kids, tough act to follow. You were great. In your packet, because it's come up over and over again, and I thought this year too, with Hugh being new to the position, we needed to give both the board and leadership the history of the relationship between Northwest YMCA and Torrington Public Schools and the use of their pool and diving board. So I had been speaking with Greg Briscoe, who's the executive director of the Y, and he said, I really don't want to feel defensive, I just would like to tell the story. And I said, please do, and it was included in your packet for tonight of the relationship for about 13 years or longer between Torrington Public Schools and the YMCA, and how we've always worked and negotiated in prices and what we received for it. So that was just an FYI, and as we go and develop our budget for next year, it's a reference point. The Y has been a great partner with us. The next piece in your packet was from the Community Foundation of Northwest Connecticut. Again, this is another grant we received, of which $4,000 was from the Community Foundation and $4,000 was from Fit Together. And it was a collaboration with Fit Together, Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, the Northwest YMCA, and Kids Marathon. And what the materials, and you can see in the response, or actually in the actual grant, the goals of the program and what they were prepared for and how we received the money. But the big thing is to make the children of Torrington a healthier community, and starting at a very young age, and it's teaching them how they can go out and run and build up stamina and become better as runners, and how it can be incorporated into their daily life. So it will be, it's really teaching a life skill for their life. And it also allowed students to prepare and become ready for the Kids Marathon, which kicks off at the Litchfield Road Race, which I believe was a week ago. But if you take a look on the, near the end, they purchased student lap trackers, which allowed the students to clock how many miles they would run in a week and how many cumulative. So it'll show you how many runners and then the school-wide totals for the different grade levels. And the second one is, I'd like Sue Ferguson, because you hadn't got cut short last time, but we received a second grant from Fit Together and the Charlotte Hungerford Garden Grant. And what this allowed was for East School and Southwest to develop community gardens. And Sue, you want to just give a little bit of the process you did?
Sure. Hi, everybody.
This is your second year.
This is actually our third year, but
Time flies when we're having fun.
yeah, but it's really been a very exciting couple of years, and this has been, I think, our most exciting and successful experience because we finally got smart and we built raised beds this year. We weren't very successful last year at all. The process has been, oh, thank you. The process has essentially been, we got the grant through Fit Together. Forbes actually was also awarded a grant. We appointed someone at each of the schools to be kind of the point person, someone who's got a really green thumb. It's not me. Anyway, the teacher who is kind of the point person for the project has been very instrumental in getting the kids involved. The children have written all of the letters to local businesses to ask for donations. The community has been so supportive. Topsoil and mulch and plants and seeds and cinder blocks and tires and anything you could possibly need to get a garden going. Hoses and garden tools and sheds, and we have someone coming out at the beginning of next week who's interested in donating fencing. So the community has been so supportive of this. Our students actually decorated the cinder blocks with broken tiles that were donated from a local tile company, and they made these mosaics, so they're quite lovely. And we had a garden building day where our parents and families came out and helped to get the process going. We had a local business come with a big dump truck and some landscapers who had Kubotas and that kind of thing to come out and really get it going. It was very exciting. And now we actually have things growing. And we have families who have signed on for the summer to adopt a week, and they're going to come out and they're going to be weeding and harvesting and taking what they want, and whatever is left over, we're donating to the soup kitchen or local food banks for the summer. And our plan is for the fall to have a school-wide harvest celebration where the kids actually prepare a meal using the produce from our garden. So we're very excited. We've planted anything you can imagine, squash and carrots and herbs and cucumbers and tomatoes, and it's really beautiful. I would really invite all of you just to take a drive by. At East School, it's right in the front. You don't even have to get out of your car to see it. We've also planted, we're growing ornamental gourds. So once those are ready, we hope to have the kids paint those and then turn them into bird feeders, so we can hang those. We hope to have a garden gate where we can put some sort of inspirational message. One of the kids found something that we think we're going to go with. It goes something like this: if you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. So that's kind of what our mantra is going to be. So we're very excited. I can leave this over here if anyone would like to take a look. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just if I could add to the Kids Marathon, it was last Saturday. There were 700 children who ran. It was very exciting. It was a beautiful day. Rod Dixon, the former Olympian, was there, of course, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful day, and the kids are excited about it. So.
And I want to give credit to Donna Labby for writing the grants and making this happen, and getting more and more into it each year.
I want to add,
Oh.
even, like Mrs. Ferguson said, that families would adopt a week, but even if it wasn't their week, the children were asking their parents to please drive by and make sure everything is okay. So it's like a whole community. They're there all the time, even if it's not their week.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And last year, you might remember, I'm sure you'll remember, we actually served salsa, remember?
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah, this year we're going to serve a meal, so it's going to be even more exciting.
Thank you, Sue.
Great, thank you.
Is this you or you or David?
David and you.
Eversource.
David, Eversource.
David.